Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
You know, these words of wisdom this morning make a lot of sense. Prayer is not a spare wheel that you pull out when in trouble, but prayer is a steering wheel that directs the right path throughout the entire journey. There you go. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning on a Tuesday. Thank you very much. That's Kate Smith, and God Bless America. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and, of course, all 7 locations with a big spring tire sale right now. And, of course, let's not forget our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969, locally owned and operated Western Waste Services. And Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida and Rupert, everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valleywide Home and Ranch. Let's go over the river and through the wood right now and get our pledger on the air this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, young man.
Well, hello, Rotten. How are you?
I'm rottener than rotten this morning.
All right, well, give us the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much for your call. Thank you for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I hope we'll see you Thursday for Russell Smith Day at Denny's. He's gone. Okay. Thanks, Rodden. I appreciate it. God bless you, man. It's time for the weather, and the weather is brought to us by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. My goodness sakes, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, 678-6945, the number to call. All your carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, home decor. And here's a tip for you. Pulling your furniture away from the wall gives the illusion of spaciousness and larger rooms. All of that from Cheney Flooring and Home Design. 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. And right now, here's Michael Rogers' weather.
Good morning, everybody. This is the week where you need to go ahead and cut the grass now, get it done. You do not have to worry about watering the grass once you're done, so you can have a nice weekend so you can play golf. This is how it's going to work. You got a nice day today, 73 for the high, 37 for the overnight low. Wednesday, slight chance of rain. Thursday, you got rain showers in the forecast. Now, you need to get the grass done before Thursday. Friday, you're going to start to come out of it. Saturday, you can go play golf. Temperatures will creep back up into the 70s. That's how simple your weather is. If you're coming down to the city of Las Vegas in the month of May, you'll pick up a magazine called My Vegas Magazine. As of yesterday, I shot my very first cover photo for that magazine. And if you're hungry, come on down to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant. Yes, that's the guy who does Hell's Kitchen. That's where I will be taking pictures of you. So other than that, have yourself a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you very much, MichaelRogersWeather.com. And, of course, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. And don't forget, the next Girls' Night Out is going to be on May 1st. Oh, my goodness, all the craft making and everything. Be sure and call them at 678-6945. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Hey, by the way, too, don't forget on Thursday at 10 o'clock, it's sale time at the Burley Livestock Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy. The You Betcha 10 o'clock on Thursdays, and it's the sale that works for you. Call for consignments and any information you need about the sale at 678-9411. Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Hey, real quick, you know that we have been broadcasting and telling you about a great big turkey shoot that's going to be up at Elba by the cemetery in Elba, and it's going to be this next Saturday, put on by the Elmo Boy Scouts, and it's going to start at 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday and go till about 2 o'clock, and they're going to have all kinds of nice prizes, a shotgun from Sportsman's Warehouse, custom-made knife, Glenn Cowling, and they're going to have different items to pass out for prizes. Food's going to be available for purchase, and they're going to have a silent auction to all of this at the great big Elmo Boy Scouts turkey shoot coming up this Saturday from 10 to 2 at Elba by the cemetery. Everybody be there. Don't forget to our friends at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And, Deanne, do you have that information from Kevin that you were going to give me a couple of days ago? If you do, I'd sure like to have that. At 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, Kevin and Cindy, the whole crew, serving you with the very best of cleaning for your clothes, your drapes, your tablecloths. They can do it all. And don't throw away some of those old items. Maybe they can be restored. Take them in and let Kevin have a look at them at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Daryl's Cleaners. Also, our thanks go out to SafeLink Internet, and Idaho's #1 choice for wireless internet, and the first month free installation, and of course no contracts, no credit checks, unlimited data. All of this, all you have to do is call 677-8000 SafeLink Internet, serving you. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Bobby Jindal of Louisiana said it best day before yesterday when he said, no more. Absolutely no more hyphenated Americans. When he introduces somebody, he's not going to say anything about African Americans. He's not going to say anything about Asian Americans. He's not going to say anything about Hispanic-Americans. What he's going to do is just lose the hyphenated form of introducing or talking about any certain group. Amen to that. We have been saying that on this program for over 2 years, and it's refreshing to hear a politician say the same thing. No more hyphenated Americans in his speech, and there won't be on this show either. If the blacks want to be called blacks, that's fine. If they want to be called Negroes, there's nothing wrong with that word, then we'll call them that. But I'm not going to go into this African American. I'm just not going to do it. Hispanic American, Asian American, no. You live here in this country, and if you're a citizen, then you're an American. And I'm not going to give special treatment to special groups. Not going to happen. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, by the way, don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric. You probably are wanting to know why you stubbed your toe the other day on the end table going around from the living room to the kitchen. You didn't have a light. It burned out. Well, they've got all the light bulbs over there, Ramsey Heating and Electric. I mean, whether you need the regular, the high and low wattage, they've got them all. And they've got all the fluorescent lights and the ballast and the repair parts, everything. So please stop in and see them today at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They open up at 7:30 in the morning, go till 5, Monday through Friday. And the number to call, 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb Bell.
How are you today, sir?
I am wonderful.
What can I do for you?
I'm just wonderful.
What can
I got on my mind just from watching the news this morning? You know, they got ships are starting to bring arms into Yemen, and this is Iranian backed, we think. I think the Iranians are trying to push us as far as they can to see what we're going to do. And I'm really concerned about this, because if we don't draw the line in the sand, they're going to walk all over us. What is your opinion?
This deal could escalate. Honestly, my opinion is such, Keith, that it could escalate into Armageddon. It could escalate into all the countries in the Middle East kind of joining forces, even though they're enemies with each other. The enemy of my enemy is my friend type thing. But here's where I stand on this issue. I am sick and tired as an American citizen of being run over and treated as second, third, and fourth class by the Middle East, and especially Iran. Anything and everything that can be done right now to straighten them up and make them fly right needs to be done, or they will be the superpower in the world. Believe me, they will take over the world, and they will conduct anything and everything they want in their favor. Something has to be done to really get their attention, and quite frankly, in simple layman's terms, a slap in the face to let them know enough is enough.
You know, it reminds me of the days even in grade school, the bullies. The bullies are just... They found a little niche where they can dig in, and the more they dig in, why, the bolder they get. But really, most bullies are cowards in the end. And it just needs somebody to stand up to them.
Well, you know, Keith...
You don't have a president with a backbone.
Well, there's the problem right there. It's been a capitulation-type administration to where Obama, because I think of his family roots and his family ties and his youthful upbringing over in the Muslim nations of the Middle East, I don't think he will or can ever show a show of force against those people. I don't think it's in his nature. I don't think it's in his personality. And the whole American population is going to suffer for it.
Well, the one that pulls his string is Valerie Jarrett. I just found out the other day that she was born in Iran, and she is believed to be a Muslim.
Well, you know, there you go. I mean, look at the incorporation into this administration, Keith, of Muslim Brotherhood members and the influence of Islam in this administration. I know that there's people listening right now that are going, oh, well, you're an Islamophobe and all this kind of thing. Keith, look at the bottom line. We are being assaulted by Islam, and Muslims are killing Christians in other parts of the world, and their main goal is to come here and do the same to us. I don't want this to go any further.
Well, I don't either. But, you know, in our area, we have many churches, and basically we all get along because we do our own thing, and we don't bother the other person. These people are not content with leaving things alone. They want you dead.
Well, you know, we're so naive, and quite frankly, this president has led us down the path of naivete and amateurism. I don't know if we can ever get out of this rut. I mean, we're like a little bit of a stone in the bottom of a Oregon Trail wagon rut. I don't know how we're ever going to get out of there.
I just, you know, why can't we impeach this man? Why can't we throw the bum out? You know, it just amazes me that there's so many powerful people on the other side that our hands are tied.
Well, I appreciate your comment as always. I got to get a commercial break in here, Keith, but I appreciate your comments. Thank you. You're spot on this morning. Thank you very much.
You have a wonderful day.
I will, sir. Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida. And Rupert, don't forget, Mandy and Sean, the whole crew over there, I'll tell you what, they are good. Really nice people. Now, 4-Hers, I want to talk to you for a minute. They have everything over there for your livestock projects. They got all the feed, they've got all the equipment, they've got everything. And if you go in there and tell them that you're a 4-H member, you get 10% off. Now, that really adds up over the course of the year. So you please stop in and see them at Valley White Home and Ranch. And for the fishermen, this is important for all the fishermen. They have got a great big fishing department at Valley White right now at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. And you can get your fishing license over there. They got all the worms, the lures, the bait, the rods, the reels, everything. And you can get a 10% discount card that's good for fishing gear all season long. What are you waiting for? Get over there and enjoy. Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Sean, Mandy, the whole crew, everything for the farm, the ranch, and the home at Valley White Home and Ranch. There you go. Oh, by the way, I got to get this in and then we'll take some more calls. This Thursday is going to be a very special day because it is Russell Smith Day. And we're going to have Russell Smith Day celebration for his birthday at Denny's coming up on this Thursday. We're going to start at 11:30, and we're going to have a color guard thanks to the Declo American Legion and headed up by my dear friend George Mass. We're going to have other things that are going to be absolutely outstanding in celebration of Russell's birthday at Zeb's Lunch Bunch this Thursday at 11:30 at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. Don't forget to come on down. You can have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, anything, anytime, and the food is delicious. Come on down to Denny's Restaurant in Burley, and it's going to be a lot of fun this Thursday for Russell Smith Day. Don't miss it at Denny's Restaurant. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587, and I'd like to hear what you have to say. You know, we're talking about Obama just a minute ago with Keith, and here's something that I want to ask you about this morning. Obama and the people that surround him say that he is fighting for his legacy. He's fighting for his legacy. And insiders in the Obama administration claim that he, Obama, wants and definitely needs to have an Iranian nuclear deal on paper, basically to solidify his legacy. Now think about that. Basically, anything that he wants done is for him. Him. And what the historians will say in the future, what his legacy is and what it represents. And bluntly speaking, I don't give a darn about this amateur president's legacy. He is a sick, perverted, selfish individual. And how can he claim he's achieving something when 4 Americans are literally rotting as prisoners in Iran's prison? And his legacy, that is absolutely selfish on Obama's part. Caller, I'm going to ask you to just have patience for a minute. I'll be right there. Don't forget Berry Equipment and Rental. Eli, Nick, the whole crew, and I mean to tell you, Berry Equipment and Rental is now looking for a couple of real good technicians full-time, so please give them a call, and they'd love to hear from you. And you can stop in at person on Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, or go to the South Lincoln address in Jerome. They've got 3 locations serving you with the best of equipment, and that's Berry Equipment and Rental, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. And they just got in a great big truckload of M-Series Bobcat excavators, skid steer loaders, and compact track loaders. Oh, 0% interest up to 60 months. You better stop in today and see the best, talk to the best at Berry Equipment and Rental. They've got the equipment to get the job done for you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Obama's legacy is going to be the economic and political destruction of America unless we put a stop to it. And part of that is our U.S. Senate right now. If they pass this fast track for the EU and the Pacific Rim trade merger treaties, they have little to do with trade and mostly about merger. But your listeners need to contact particularly Senator Risch The agriculture groups, of course, are pushing for more free trade, but these agreements only have 5 out of 29 provisions that have to do with trade. The rest of it has to do with political and economic merger. And so people need to be aware of that. And this is the only thing that we know about these has come out is the secrecy surrounding these things. And after the treaties are ratified, are signed by the president, we won't know what's in them for 4 years.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, but people need to be contacting Crapo's office and Risch. Risch apparently is wishy-washy on, he's being pushed by the farm groups. All the farm groups are pushing for it, but they've never understood that it's really not about trade. It's more about political economic merger. And that will be, but it'll contribute greatly to the destruction of this country and the Constitution that we reverence, and so forth. But people need to get on the horn about that, because these agreements are just absolutely devastating.
Well,
like NAFTA was. It was sold like that.
I want to stay right now on this man's legacy. That word just infuriates me. I don't want to get into free trade agreements right now. I know it's a part of what Obama's doing, but Adrian, I am sickened by the fact that he has showed his selfishness and his phoniness because he's only interested in himself, in getting a piece of paper signed by the Iranian president that is going to show that the Iranian president and Obama signed an agreement on a nuclear deal, and that will go into the archives as his legacy, while 4 Americans rot in prison, and he was too lazy and too amateuristic and too absolutely selfish to get those people out of prison.
I agree, but everything he's done since day one is to transform this country into a socialist workers' paradise and to make us basically a communist country.
I agree.
And you look at everything he's done, but he is I agree totally, he's a very selfish, self-centered person. He thinks himself above. Just look at the security people that have left and written books about him. I mean, he just absolutely despises the people that supposedly protect him, and and the other presidents, really paid tribute to the people that were around them, but not him and Michelle. It's just all about them and and their agenda to transform this country. And they've been very successful with the national news media basically being cheerleaders for it.
I got to run, Adrian. Excellently put. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Don't forget Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service at 336 South 450 West of Paul. Number to call 438-2485. And they can do all the pruning for your trees, all the work on your sprinkler systems. And by the way, Scott Gano is looking for good help. He's looking for some more people, good help, that are experienced with sprinklers and trees. Call him at 438-2485. That number again, 438-2485. Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. And before we go to the Capital Press Ag Minute, I also want to remind you about Penetron Soil Conditioner by Maisie, with a 21-year proven record of increasing yield and quality of all Idaho crops, speeding germination, reducing crusting, improving stand, stimulating root growth and microbial activity, and building soil structure too. And Penetron Soil Conditioner can save you water. That's more money in your pocket saving right there. Penetron treated crops have better roots that reduce stress for water and nutrients, and you can increase your crop's performance with a proven soil conditioner, Penetron by Maisie. Be sure and get a hold of your crop advisor and find out more about Penetron, or you can even call Dr. Adrian Arp at 734-2255 for additional information. Right now it's time for the Capital Press Ag Minute, and it's brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology. And you can get a hearing screening at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Don't forget, they're located at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. And the number to call for an appointment, please do this, is 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. 0957. And hearing loss is not a part of aging. Make sure that you have your hearing checked with Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology. And right now, here is the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly. The increased enforcement of Idaho's dyed fuel laws will loom as a major topic in 2016. A transportation funding bill that will raise an estimated $94 million a year through increased fuel taxes and registration fees is awaiting the governor's signature. Included in that bill is intent language that instructs the Idaho State Police and the Idaho Tax Commission to provide recommendations to the 2016 Idaho legislature on greater enforcement of Idaho's dyed fuel laws. Dyed fuel, also known as dyed diesel or farm diesel, is exempt from state and federal fuel taxes and allowed in unlicensed vehicles that are not used on public roads. The state penalty for misusing dyed diesel is $250 fine for a first offense, $500 for a second offense, and $1,000 for each subsequent offense. For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
And it's brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Christine Pickup. And, of course, give her a call for a hearing screening today at 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Tomorrow is Earth Day. And I'm going to just ask everybody, and I know that a lot of the teachers are going to have different things in the school systems, etc. Here's my take on Earth Day tomorrow. Each and every one of us should celebrate what God has given us to use and prosper with, and thank Him for the generous blessings and celebrate His gifts. I will not celebrate Earth Day with the kooks and the crazies that are worshiping Gaia and taking us backwards to where we should live in caves and we should kind of tie leaves together for our clothing. Earth Day has absolutely been taken over by the rich and the famous, and they've turned it into kind of a celebrity type day to where they can come out and say, well, I saved this, I saved that kind of water, I did this. I'm sick of that kind of attitude. Why don't we just thank the good Lord above for what we have and what He's given us? And that would be the best way to celebrate Earth Day, and not celebrate all these kooks and crazies. By the way, speaking of kooks and crazies, and I'm not talking about you, George, not in any means, but yesterday we went to Twin Falls, and we were driving down Blue Lakes, and there they were, about maybe a dozen or maybe 14 people standing on the sidewalk with cardboard signs promoting all the legalization of marijuana. And they were standing there yelling and screaming pro-pot and all this. All of these people were under 30 years of age, probably. And my question is, why weren't they working? Why weren't they at a job? It was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're standing on a street corner promoting pot, marijuana. And that's exactly what is wrong with our entire society. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You talk about 4 Americans being held over there. Actually, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, one of the congressmen was on, and he said that we actually have 92 Americans being held, because we know there are probably over 1,000 altogether. And then also the man and his wife and the child that have been pleading to be released over in Afghanistan after they released Bo Bergdahl.
Yes.
Are any of these other countries getting their people released?
You know, when you make a list of the people that are being held hostage, it's absolutely insane to think about how many American citizens that didn't do anything wrong. They weren't on any espionage mission or anything like this. They were just over there either visiting relatives or touring the area, and they've been arrested and held on phony charges. And I'm glad you brought up the numbers of like 96 or maybe 104 or whatever. There's so many people that need to be brought back home by this administration with a simple demand that there won't be any negotiation on any nuclear deals until you let our people go. It's as simple as that.
I agree, Zeb, and thank you so much.
God bless you. Good to hear from you. You know, I don't understand Josh Earnest and the spokesman for the White House. I don't understand how somebody can sit there and look at the news media at those press briefings and say that the nuclear agreement or the nuclear treaty that they're trying to get signed is a completely separate deal away from Americans that are held prisoner or hostage. Why? Somebody's got to explain that to me. Why? Why can't there be, like I said the other day, you walk into the room, you sit down at the table, you look the Iranians right in the eye, and you say, okay, now look, it's 2:05 in the afternoon. In 5 minutes, we want our people walking out of the prison and headed towards an American embassy. Once we hear that they are en route to an American embassy, then we will start the negotiations. If this doesn't take place, we are going to tighten the screws on all the sanctions, and you are going to be brought down to your knees. That's the only way to negotiate with these people, is out of power and, of course, a premier sense of attitude that you are in control. And this administration can't do that. Calls welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley, right next to Dot Foods. And Tim Vaughn, I got to get a hold of Tim today, as a matter of fact. The number to call, 431-7314. For all your estimates on what you need built on your property. Now, I can tell you that they've been putting up a lot of on-the-farm grain bin storage, because they're an authorized dealer in Sukup, Chief, Balin, and Nucor buildings. And you know, of course, that they're building the brand new Funk Dairy right straight south of me here in Murtaugh. They know what they're doing, I'll tell you. And they've also got the equipment to handle all your dirt hauling needs with the big side dump trucks. And they got those big, heavy rigs for hauling your farm equipment from point A to point B. All you have to do, excuse me, I'm losing my voice a little bit this morning. All you have to do is give Tim a call at 431-7314 and tell him exactly what you want and when you want it done. 431-7314. Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley. The professionals building for you. What do you think about that as far as Obama and this country and this capitulation and just basically sitting back and not doing anything, not making demands? Nuclear deal is separate from getting these people released. I don't understand why. We've got a Marine over there. We've got a pastor from Boise, Idaho, Saeed Abedini. We've got other people that are held captive. And why? Why isn't that brought to the forefront before any deal is taken under consideration? Somebody explain that to me, please. By the way, are we a nation? Think about this, and I got George Mass staring at me like a hawk looking down in a hayfield at a mouse. Are we a nation that is stupid enough to really vote Hillary Clinton in as President of the United States? I wonder what's the matter with the Democratic Party. Really, what is the matter with the Democratic Party that they would want and I'm going to call it the way I see it, I think she's a liar. I think she's a fraud. I think she's a phony. I think she's a cheat. And I think she's absolutely exactly the opposite of what this country needs as a president of the United States to take us out of this pit and get us back to where we belong. She's already crying about and whining about the Republicans, talking about her and how she came along with Bill and all the money that's in their bank account. She's crying about that. She's a nominee, possibly, from the Democratic Party to become President of the United States, and she is fair game for anybody to discuss her past, her present, and her future. And she's already crying the blues. She's already playing that poor little lady routine. Oh, the big bad Republicans are picking on me. This is so disgusting. And the crooked element that she's involved in with the money that went to the Clinton Foundation and the donations from various countries. Let me tell you what happened here with Judge Napolitano of Fox News. He was interviewed about the money that went into the Clinton files and the Clinton Foundation. And he said, and I'm using his words right now, that the allegations that former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton exchanged favors in return for donations to the Clinton Foundation are truly damning. He also said the Obama Justice Department must, the word must, launch a criminal investigation into what the Clintons have done. And on the contributions to the Family Foundation, and she had sky-high $500,000 a speech. That's what she charged. And the speaking fees went to her husband. And it was really funny because every time they made a speech, a country would donate a certain amount of money, possibly for favors in return, as Hillary was the Secretary of State. And somebody please tell me out there why she shouldn't be investigated, why the Clinton Foundation should not be investigated, and why she even qualifies to be possibly the President of the United States. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call, please. While I'm waiting for your call, that I hope is coming in, save my voice a little bit this morning. Also want to talk to you a little bit about our friends over at Burley. Oh my goodness. These folks are the best at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Now, I got to start going back over there again because they do such a wonderful job in all the sports medicine and exercises and all the hydrotherapy pool work with the treadmill in the bottom of the pool. If you've got problems with shoulders or arms or legs, I'm telling you, they can help you get back to being you. All you have to do is call them, make an appointment at 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, headed up by Nick Greenwell and the rest of his very, very competent staff. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. You call them today, 678-1191. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What'll happen? The Justice Department probably will not do a thing. Eric Holder probably will not do a thing. And people like Judge Napolitano, their careers and their honesty and truthfulness on the line, they probably will be chastised by the Obama administration and ridiculed by the Obama administration, and now also the Clintons. And we probably will not see any criminal investigations into where all the money went and where all the money came from. That's very important. And you know, the thing that really gets me, folks, is, George, pull your chair up to the microphone. I'll have you comment on this just a little bit and speak real loud into that microphone. Doesn't it bother you where the money came from for the Clintons when they claimed a couple of years ago that they were dead broke, and the facts and the records show that actually from 2001 until just a couple of years ago, they made over $140 million during that time span, and they were claiming that they were broke.
Yeah, it's really sad. Money talks and money buys.
Yeah.
You know, and it's bought the Clintons. It's bought a lot of our politicians, and it's not going to end until somebody gets their feet held to the fire.
Where does she get off thinking that she's holier than the rest of us, and anything and everything that they do shouldn't be scrutinized? And she made a statement yesterday. I don't have the entirety of the statement here, but she was whining that the Republicans are coming after her because of her financial situation. That's open field target as far as I'm concerned.
The Clintons felt they've been above the law ever since Bill Clinton run for president.
Yeah.
They're above the law, and it doesn't pertain to them.
I agree. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Deb.
Yes, sir.
My suspicious mind tells me there's just too many important people on the Democratic side that are involved in this scandal, and that's why it's not going anywhere.
But really, why shouldn't we demand it? Why shouldn't we be telling Crapo and Risch and Simpson and Labrador and calling back there and demanding that we have an accounting of someone that when you look at all the chips on the poker table right now, it looks very damning against the Clintons, especially Hillary, and all the different things that have happened, Benghazi, and the loss of her computer server and all the emails, and why in the world would the Democrats or anybody else in this country want to put her in the forefront to run for president when she's basically not much more than a common criminal?
Well, one problem that I have is when I call my 3 congressmen here about 2 weeks or so ago about another issue, and I asked them, I says, why is it I have to wait 2 or 3 months to get an answer to something I had to bring up?
Yeah.
And she said, I don't know. And so far, the letters I get are a couple months old.
You know,
how can we get something done when I don't know what they're doing, what our congressmen are doing up there?
Well, I question the fact that they do either. I'm just not very friendly towards what's going on the Potomac River right now, Tony. I'm not very giving and sharing and forgiving about my money, your money, and everybody else's money going to the federal government, the IRS, gouging everybody. We've got candidates that are running for office, i.e. Hillary Clinton, with all the backgrounds of being basic criminals, and they're being promoted as the next president of the United States. We as a public should be outraged.
Well, we are, but it seems like our people that are supposed to be representing us are just waiting around until their day comes when they can retire and get out from under this and just run.
Let me ask you something, Tony. I know where you live. I've been in your house. But right in your neighborhood of the people that you associate with and that you see every day, are there people that really, honestly would like to see Hillary become president of the United States?
We have a few in the neighborhood.
And what are their thoughts? Why?
I don't know. You know, a lot of them are younger people, and a lot of them haven't been hurt financially yet.
Yeah.
They're both still working. Some of them have government jobs here, and they figure they got their Social Security and their retirement coming. And there's some of them that are just ordinary working people, and they're the ones that are concerned about the future.
Right.
You know, so it's you wonder what the heck is happening up there in Washington. Does anybody care anymore up there?
I agree with you. Tony, it's always good to hear from you, my dear friend. Take care. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Time for the weather forecast with MichaelRogersWeather.com, and it's brought to you this hour by Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. All you have to do is call Ramsey's at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Right now, here is Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers is up at the ranch. It's got a nice day with temperatures in the 70s, but you do have rain in the forecast. And I'm really bad at doing this. I don't know why. Because, you know, I should just stay into today, but I always look down the road. It's just this weather thing in me. I don't know. You got a nice day today, 73 for the high, 45 for the overnight low. When you get to Wednesday and Thursday, you got a slight chance of rain on Wednesday, rain on Thursday, come out of it on Friday. There you have it. And then this weekend, you're going to have a pretty nice weekend. So other than that, get a nice day for the day. Enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you got.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. Brought to everybody again by Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, qualified Lennox home comfort systems at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Check it out today at 678-0459. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning, Jeb.
Hey, Kilt man, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Well, I got a little bit of a sore throat this morning, but hanging in there. What do you think about what we've talked about so far this morning?
Well, the thing is,
Number one, no, she's not the right person. She's got too many strikes against her. Number two, I don't mind a woman president, okay? I really don't. I think there's a lot of women out there that are highly qualified to be able to handle the job. But right now, we have a war against countries that don't recognize women. They're second-class citizens as far as they're concerned. So to have a woman in there right now is not conducive to the situation.
I agree with you, and I'll tell you, Kiltman, I absolutely think you brought up a point that should have been stated a long time ago. I'm not anti-woman as president. As a matter of fact, back in 2008, and I know you were listening back then, I advocated when Obama was running, I wanted to see Condoleezza Rice run. But your point is very well taken about the problems that we have right now in the Middle Eastern world, and they don't respect women. They don't want women as figures of authority, and I agree with you. Now is not the time, whether it's Hillary or anyone else.
I agree. And the thing is, you know, like I said, they have the skill, they have the ability, they have the temperament. There's quite a few women out there that can do this job. But right now is not the time, and we need someone with courage and fortitude that is going to be able to handle the job. And I'm not saying that women don't have that. I'm just saying that right now, with the situation in the world and stuff like that, it isn't going to happen. It's going to be another strike against us. And so we need to look at that before we make our decision.
You know what? I appreciate your call this morning. That's a good point of interest. I got another one waiting. Kiltman, God bless you. Very well stated. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my friend.
You bet. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go quickly.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes.
I had a comment. What's wrong with Washington is you've heard the proverb, I believe it is, if you live in a glass house, you shouldn't throw stones. I think that's the problem. None of our representatives or elected officials want to create any waves because that in turn makes waves for them. And I see a guy driving around town with a thing on the back of his truck that says "Re-elect no one," and I think that's a good point. I think we elect somebody who we think is going to do a good job. Maybe for a year or two they do, and then they get comfortable and complacent and join the Washington crowd and are good to nobody.
Well, let me ask you this. I'll say this statement, and I want you to respond to it. I think that over 90% of the people that go back to Washington, D.C., whether it's in the Senate or the House, are basic cowards protecting the old CYA, you know what that stands for, and making sure that they not only turn that into a re-election, but almost all of them are looking at it as a full-time job. I'm sick and tired of the attitude. They're sick and tired of being cowards. I'm sick and tired of them not wanting to make waves. I'm sick and tired of them not willing to stand up, stick their chin out, and stand up for their constituents. And I dare somebody out in the audience to tell me one that does.
You know, I totally agree with you. I think that's why we're not seeing anybody stand up and bring this stuff out about Hillary Clinton, the Democrats, or Republicans, for that matter. They're no better than the Democrats, in my opinion.
That's right.
It's through the whole thing, and I think you hit it right on the head. They turn cowardice, and it's all about that bottom line and all about padding the pocketbook and getting reelected. It
would be so refreshing for me to turn on the news tonight and have, I don't care if it's a junior senator from Arkansas or if it's a senior congressman from California, I don't care where they are or who they are, stand up and say enough is enough. And I personally am going to do this. I'm going to personally do this. I'm going to tell the president. I'm going to bring these facts out to the American people. But oh no. They can't do that because they need the old CYA program, and I'm sick of that.
And you know, the weird thing about it is, if you would see someone do that, even on a local level, a national level, it would be interesting or it would be surprising to see how many folks would throw their support behind that individual, and it would be more of a CYA factor for them than what's going on now. You know, if you saw somebody stand up, say, you know what, I like that guy, I'm going to support him.
You know what?
He may not be my representative or whatever, I'm going to support him, and I think he'd see more benefit than he would
I do too. I think it'd be like the Mr. Smith Goes to Washington movie from years ago, and I think people have got to stand up and be counted. God bless you for your call, sir. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and serving is the key word. Great big spring tire sale going on right now, and I tell you what, you can check out the Ultra Z900 for your passenger cars. All season design, 80,000 mile warranty depending on the size. Oh my goodness. And of course on the pickups and SUVs, the Open Country AT2, long outstanding traction, long lasting tread, all of these tires and more on sale. Very convenient credit terms for tires and services, and of course the best in brake service, the best in front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. It's all there at all 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Powline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. We are going to take a little break for about 6 minutes and come back, and then we're going to be talking to Idaho Senator Dean Cameron on the telephone. And then at 9:30, we've got Institute for Energy Research, Dan Kish, and he's going to be talking about how the gas and the natural gas boom on private land, but the federal government is drawing back on anything to do on federal land and kind of hurting us, the American taxpayers. We'll find out more about that. And then at 10 o'clock this morning, Dr. History is going to be on the program talking about very interesting trip to China. We'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh my, here we go, hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch on a Tuesday, April 21st, and welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and a big spring tire sale going on right now. Also, some of our great advertisers, including Valleywide Home and Ranch at 910 South Oneida in Rupert, everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valleywide Home and Ranch. And our dear friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services always at your disposal. The number to call, 734-6969. Locally owned and operated and serving you all over the Magic Valley with the best of dumpsters in various sizes. Clean out the garage, the basement, whatever. And don't forget, get on the route service. They'll come by, pick up your garbage. It's gone. And also, they've got all the porta potties, everything for service to you. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. Before we get to our next guest, I also want to remind you, too, about our friends at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, the manager. Very, very flexible hours to serve you and your family. They can travel to all the rural towns and churches and help you when there's the passing of a loved one and help you with all the arrangements, always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please call them, Joel Heward and his staff, at 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Please call them today on pre-planning of funerals to help alleviate a lot of the stress and worry for our families. Hanson Mortuary, serving you. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I believe we have Idaho Senator Dean Cameron on the air with us. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
I am good. I'm going to pull a little fast one on you real quick, Dean Cameron, and I have a guest here that wants to say something very, very special to you, and this person is in my studio, so go ahead, person. Enter and sign in, please.
Good morning, Senator. This is George Mass. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great. How are you, George?
I am doing wonderful. Dean, on behalf of the veterans and the fallen families and their families, or fallen soldiers and their families, the Bill S-1155 that you took to the Senate and overwhelmingly got that passed, and then Representative Woods took it to the House and got it passed. It's in front of the governors now. That will make history, and it means so much to so many.
Well, thank you very much, George. I very much appreciate it. It was my honor to be able to help resolve a problem, and I believe the bill will be signed actually today. I'm waiting to hear back. We haven't heard. The governor was out of town yesterday or on Friday, and it's my understanding that he will sign it today, but we're waiting to hear for certain.
Senator, you've set the standards so high for people in political service that it's going to be awful hard for people to reach the standards you have set.
Well, you're very kind. I'm just a normal guy and trying to do a good job, and I think there are a lot of good people that can do just as well.
Well, I tell you what, that's pretty nice. George drove all the way over here, braved the elements, mushed those huskies through the snow, parched his throat in the desert air just to say thank you to you.
That's very kind. I'm deeply honored.
Well, and we are very honored to have you as a state senator, Dean. You're doing a great job for everybody.
Thank you very much. Trying to do our best.
All right. George, anything else you want to say real quick?
Yeah, just Dean, on behalf of myself and the veterans, thank you for what you do. You've support us 110%. Thank you.
There you go. That was very nicely said. George, thank you very much. Get to work putting that carpet down, old buddy. Thank you very much. Good friend right there, George Mass, one of the best in the West. Idaho Senator Dean Cameron, and I heard a rumor yesterday. Somebody told me that you felt real bad the session was over. You wanted to stay for another 3 months.
You know what? Every session is different, and every session, by the end of it, you're ready for it to end. You're ready to be home, and I'm so grateful to live in this community and to be home. It is. There's no place that feels quite the same as living in the Magic Valley, and I'm grateful to be back.
Dean, as you look at the kind of an overview of the legislative session, I mean, you've been there for many, many years, and it's kind of like a Clint Eastwood movie, the good, the bad, and the ugly. How would you term this legislative session for this year?
Well, I think that title actually sums it up pretty darn well. There are a lot of very tough spots. I don't think that I recognized before assuming this responsibility the number of tough, difficult, gut-wrenching decisions that you would be faced with, where you're actually choosing a decision that no matter which way you choose, you're insulting one of your friends. Or you're making one side angry at you or another, and that's the difficulty. I mean, we handled a number of very difficult situations. It's not hard to do the right thing if you have good standards. It's not hard to do the right thing when you know what the right thing is. Where it becomes difficult is when there are points on both sides, and you are caught in a position where you have to choose which is the most correct,
right,
given the information you have at the moment, and that's where it becomes difficult.
When I mentioned the good, the bad, and the ugly, there were issues that were passed. There were issues that waited till the 11th hour to be passed. There were some issues that were exited out the door. Some are going to come back and rear their head again next year. So you do have the good, the bad, and the ugly. So on the good side, what were you the most happy about that went through the session this year?
Well, I think everybody would tell you that the new career ladder for teacher pay and the education funding was probably the best thing that happened. It was certainly, I mean, there were a lot of other good things. The bill that George and I talked about, that's a personal high, a personal gratification of being able to accomplish something. There are a lot of those kinds of things. But as a statewide system, a statewide issue, I'd say the education funding and new career ladder, particularly as we look at teachers from our communities in the Magic Valley eastward. We're losing teachers left and right. We're running with school districts that have vacant positions or positions that are being filled by teachers who are still in school attempting to get their certification, or substitute teachers. That's not a way for us to run an education system. It's not a way for us to expect a good achievement from our kids. If our kids deserve to be taught by a certified teacher, and we needed to address that. It's not as strong as some would have liked, but that's the way it normally is. There's usually, by the time you reach a compromise or reach something that will pass, both sides wish it were, better one way or another. So that's probably the best thing that happened.
Well, you take a look. What was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. 7.4% increase in education. I mean, basically, a lot of things changed. A lot of things for the positive and for the betterment of education. Now let's talk about some of the bad. Well, what about something that was kind of bad and didn't go through? I mean, I wasn't real happy, and I'm going to tell you this, with what happened on transportation. I thought that got way too late in the session and should have been addressed, and somebody should have put the boxing gloves on way early in the session to get some net results.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Hindsight's 20/20, and you can always look back and say, well, somebody should have done X or Y sooner. I will give the House credit, and as you know, all tax measures have to start in the House. And I will give them credit as they proposed dozens of bills trying to find what would pass their body and then send it over to the Senate. Mm-hmm. They took 3 months to get one over to the Senate, and then of course the Senate amended it, and that's not ideal. First, it's not ideal for the Senate to amend a House bill, although we end up doing that probably frequently, and that's certainly part of the process. But they had the issue for 3 months, and then the Senate was expected to deal with it in about 8 days.
Right.
And that makes it difficult. But on the other hand, it is never easy to raise taxes, and it shouldn't be. And it's never easy to address this sort of a problem. When I went to Boise, I was fond of saying, when I first started running, I was fond of saying I wanted to make sure that government was run like a business. And I know that there are some components of government that's never like a business, now that having served there. But I also know that from a general perspective, there are business principles that can apply very much. And in transportation, that's one of them. You have a billions of dollar infrastructure that is not being maintained, that the resources for maintaining it have diminished over time, and that we have a fixed return, if you will, a fixed income on trying to address those needs,
right.
those maintenance needs. Every farmer I know maintains, every smart farmer I know, I'll say it that way, maintains their equipment. They maintain their, everything from their equipment to their irrigation system, however that might be. Every business person I know does the same thing. They maintain your radio station has to do the same thing. Every so often they got to buy new equipment. They have to upgrade, and that is just part of the course. We don't necessarily like it when it happens. We don't like it when we have to replace an engine or we have to, have major maintenance. But we still have to do it because the cost of not doing it is far more expensive than the cost of doing it at the time.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, we ended up with, what, a 7-cent per gallon increase that's going to be passed on to the consumers, and really the total package probably will generate, what, an estimate of $95 million? We needed $255 or $60 million, along with the matching funds, perhaps, from the federal government, so we're in a shortfall, and next year you got to kind of sit down and discuss the same problem again, don't you?
Well, I think you will not see it happen next year, but I think unfortunately the legislature is going to have to address it in 2 years, and if not in 2 years, perhaps in 4 years. The $95 million will go a long ways, and there is an extra potential that there will be another $50 million that is spilled over once the general fund reaches. What we did is we did a surplus eliminator, and that's a little complicated to explain, but essentially after the general fund, which is our normal tax dollars, are spent to pay for all the needs of education and all the other state needs, and we've set aside money and we've done everything we need to do to prepare for the next year. If money still comes in above our projection, then that excess money will be split between our savings account, the rainy day fund, and the transportation fund, and that could yield 40 to 50 million this year, potentially, if we keep on the same track that we're at for revenue at this point. So we'll see 2 years from now how much we've been able to address it with both the gas tax increase and the registration fee increase and the other issues. You'll also see some other adjustments coming over time. In the next 3 to 5 years, you'll see the trucking industry move from a very high registration fee, highest in the Northwest, and we're not proud of that. Our vehicle registration fee is the lowest in the Northwest, but our truck registration is the highest.
Right.
And you'll see us move from that system to a weight distance tax once the technology is there and it's being experimented with in other states, so that the heavier the truck and the longer the truck drives, the more it would pay in a registration fee. So that a short-haul trucker won't pay the same as a long-haul trucker, and a heavyweight, 128,000-pound truck will pay more than somebody who's running 20,000 pounds. So.
Let me ask you this, Dean. We know here in the state of Idaho what you and the legislature pass for us as citizens of this state as increases. We don't know what Obama and his administration are going to do on the federal tax level, and some of their taxation and increases for transportation and the infrastructure, they can get really scary. And I've got a lot of people on a nationwide basis that are just holding their breath.
Yeah, and most of us that are watching it at the state level here in Idaho are watching our breath. From a couple perspectives, one that you bring out that's very important is what are they going to do to consumers? What are they going to do to us as they raise, as they look at raising gas tax? But from a second perspective, Idaho receives more money from the feds on transportation and on most issues, frankly, than what we contribute. So all our citizens contribute, and we actually receive more money back from the federal government for transportation than what our citizens contribute. There are a number of states that would like to change that. And so from our perspective, we could get really double hit because our gas tax could go up on the federal level significantly, but the amount that we get reimbursed back to the state could go down. And that will be really a source of frustration if that happens.
Let me go. I've only got about 5 minutes left, and I need to talk about the ugly, the stories that won't go away. They're going to be recurrent again next year in the legislative session. What are your concerns looking already ahead to the next legislative session?
Well, I don't even think to get to the ugly you have to look to the next legislative session. There was an issue on child support payments that died in the House Committee on the last day of the session. Unfortunately, it wasn't planned that way. It just happened that way on an 8-9 vote, and that loss is a double hit. And I think you'll see the governor call special session to address that here within the next 60 days. We've got an order from the federal government that if we do not comply, we will immediately lose $16 million for our child support enforcement mechanisms. Then we potentially lose another $30 million in what's called temporary assistance to needy family funds. And on top of that, we lose access to the federal database, which allows us to enforce child support. Mm-hmm. So it's complicated, but for your viewers to understand, in a divorce situation, the non-custodial parent is often ordered to pay child support. And the common way it's done is through the state. And this money isn't state money. It isn't taxpayer dollars. This money is money that is collected from a non-custodial parent and given to a custodial parent, a parent who's taking care of the children. Our inability to access the federal system will prevent single mothers from being able to collect child support and survive here in Idaho. So if their ex-husband now lives in Nevada or lives in Utah or Kentucky or wherever, we won't be able to collect that. Now, if they live in Idaho, we can probably manually still collect it if the non-custodial parent is willing to take care of it. Mm-hmm. But it will become problematic to enforce. And so I think you'll see the governor call special session here in the next 60 days to try and fix it. It got killed over, I'll say, concerns, and some would argue inappropriate, but others would argue appropriate concerns, and that's neither here nor there. They get killed over concerns over people that live internationally and how that would affect Idaho citizens. Okay. So if you had a father who moved to England or Italy or Saudi Arabia or some place like that, how would that transpire in Idaho? Okay. And we believe there's the appropriate protections there that have been there for years. We think people overread and overreacted to some concerns, and we'll have to address it.
And let me ask you a real short question and short answer on this, Dean. I'm a little naive about special sessions. Is there an allocation, kind of an emergency fund to cover the costs for emergency short sessions?
No, there's not. It comes out of the legislature has its own budget, just like every other agency, and it just comes out of that budget. If they have to pay for the costs of bringing us to town, and hopefully what they're waiting for, I think, is to make sure all the ducks are lined up and everything is in order, so that it is a quick one-day come in, hold a hearing, vote on it in the House, send it over to the Senate, hold another hearing, vote on it in the Senate, and send us home.
All right. Idaho Senator Dean Cameron. Dean, you got to come back more often. I can't cram everything in a short period of time. I got a lot more questions, and I appreciate your taking the time this morning. Please come back in the not-too-distant future. We'll talk again, okay?
No problem. Thanks so much, Zeb.
My friend, Idaho Senator Dean Cameron, thank you very much. Hey, by the way, Steve-O's is celebrating 20 years, their 20th anniversary. Isn't that neat? This week, actually, on Thursday, they're celebrating that 20th anniversary, and they'd like to thank the community for all their support. I mean, they've had people coming in and raving about their food now for over 20 years. Come on in, have your favorite lunch or dinner at Steve-O's Food, made just the way you like it. Congratulations to Steve-O's at 290 South, 600 west of Heyburn. 20 years of outstanding food, and they're looking forward to another 20 more. Hey, by the way, too, over in that neck of the woods, don't forget our friends at Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. Oh, boy. With this kind of weather, doesn't that want to make you get on those ATVs and just head for the hills? Look out. They've got all the ATVs. They got everything over there, all the sizes, all the colors. They got it all for you. And by the way, too, I want to brag a little bit about their service department. Excellent service department. And if you have four-wheelers and you haven't taken them in to have them serviced yet for this year, call, make an appointment, get them over there as fast as you can. I'll tell you what, this is a great place. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Heyburn. Let's ride where the fun is sold. Really good people. By the way, I just got off the phone with one of the gentlemen that's at this business, and that's Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They care. They know. They're devoted to serving you. So please call and make an appointment today for them to sit down and kind of review where you're at, how you're covered, etc. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, they can help. Cameron Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call, 436-4424. Just a moment, we're going to have our dear friend Dan Kish on the phone with us talking about energy, but I also want to remind you that coming up on this Thursday, there is going to be what's called the 1x1 Women's Seminar, sponsored by the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce. And this is going to be on this Thursday, April 23rd at 10 to 3, 10 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center, 800 North Overland in Burley. Now, tickets are $20. And here is something for the business owners and managers, husbands. Get your wife a ticket to go to this 1x1 women's seminar. Oh, it's going to be great. And again, you can go to the Chamber of Commerce, Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce, and get those tickets, or you can call 679-4793. This would be a great gift for those that are looking for something a little bit different for Professionals Administrative Day, which is the day before, or simply put, Secretary's Day, on April 22nd. And they're going to have all kinds of great speakers there, and they're going to have neat events and booths and all kinds of educational seminars. It's going to be great. 1x1 Women's Seminar, sponsored by the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce, this Thursday at the Burley Inn and Convention Center. All right, let's go to the phone lines right now and say good morning to Mr. Energy, Dan Kish. How are you, my friend?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you, sir?
Busy. And I guess basically I'm a little worried, and I'm glad to have you on the program this morning, Dan, because I just don't trust this administration. I don't trust what they're going to do in the remaining, let's see, how many days have they got left? 639 days with energy. I still feel that we're seeing these lower prices for a short period of time. I think this president is not above seeing the lid come off and maybe $6, $7, $8 a gallon. What are your thoughts about what's going to happen with energy still with this Obama administration?
Well, Zeb, I mean, they're doing their best, but because we've got private and state lands, they haven't been, I mean, they're doing their best in terms of slowing it down.
Yeah.
But if it were up to them, we'd be paying those kinds of prices. I mean, the over the last 5 years, the amount of oil we're producing in the United States has gone up 89% on non-federal lands, and it's gone down 10%. And natural gas is down 31% on federal lands, and it's up 37% on non-federal lands. So, you know, I mean, you almost have to work overtime in order to have such a change in the way the government does things versus the way everybody else does, and you know, that's a pretty miserable story.
Dan, is this a kind of a capitulation or kind of a under-the-table payment or something to the environmental movement in this country? I mean, are they selling us out to the enviros to the point where they're cutting back on oil production on federal lands and basically saying, well, go ahead, private lands, you bear the burden, and we'll stand there and smile, but we're going to keep cutting back on federal lands just because of the environmentalist movement? What's going on here?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, the president is, his favorite group is the green left, Zeb, and that's what they are. I mean, they're not just green; they're also left, hardcore left, and that's what he's doing. I mean, he's using the justification of global warming and to get at anything that makes the country run in terms of energy, and so it's a direct payoff for that group of people that he likes to associate with.
Mm-hmm. Dan, I said something, I don't know if I was talking to you a couple of weeks ago or not, but I had a scenario that came to mind, and I'll say it again, and you can tell me if I'm all wet, but I'm looking at the Middle East, and especially Iran, as the powerhouse in the Middle East. And we're looking at oil prices going so low right now in this country that a lot of the businesses in South Dakota, Montana, etc., they're really suffering, and they're laying off a lot of employees. And I see Iran saying, okay, we're just going to wait. And then all of a sudden, when the United States can't afford to keep these people hired, we're going to hit the market with another glut of oil, drive it down even further, possibly run the American oil companies out of business, and then we're going to put a hold on shipping any oil, and we have strangled the United States, strangled other countries, and we are in complete control. Is that a scenario that could be playing out with Iran?
Well, it sure could. I mean, the president wants to lift the sanctions on Iran as part of his deal, and what that means is that they would be adding over 1 million barrels a day to world oil supplies, and what that would do is drive down prices to such an extent that we'd have a situation where we're continuing to lay people off and nobody's making investments, and when you don't drill wells, you don't get oil.
Yeah. Dan, what about the energy situation in this country right now? As far as I know business people, and I'm sure you've talked to many business people, and I've talked to people in Nevada, California, Washington, Oregon, business owners, and they're really tentative right now, worrying about Obama pulling the rug out from underneath them. They would like to make some increases. They'd like to hire more people. They'd like to expand their business. Most every person that I've talked to is somewhat reliant upon lower oil prices to make their programs really cost effective, but right now they're scared, and I think with good reason.
Well, I think you're right, Zeb, in terms of what the president's basic viewpoint is, which is that, you know, frankly, higher priced energy means people will use less, and because his entire program has to do with global warming, they don't want to burn. That's why he's shutting down the coal plants. That's why we're seeing that across the United States, and the same deal with oil and natural gas. What they want is windmills and solar power.
You know, when you say that, Dan, and you're the expert, I mean, I rely on you to tell us exactly what's going on in energy. You're my number one source. How long in time, months, weeks, years, whatever, would it take to make an effective energy grid based on just solar and wind power so that people could just have a turn-on energy source? I don't see it in the next 10 or 20 years. What are your thoughts?
Oh, you can't do it, Zeb. I mean, it's that simple. This country consumes way too much energy to, we're the number one economy in the world, and the issue with those sources is scale. You cannot scale up sufficient amounts of energy using those sources in order to make the things that we make. Now, if we're just washing each other's clothes for an economy, maybe you could get by with it. But when you're talking about making things and moving things across this vast, God-given nation, you can't do it with those sources. That's why it hasn't been done in the past. And it's a nice boutique addition to our supplies, but it wouldn't exist in the absence of federal subsidies, and you cannot run this country on it. It's just not enough. There's not enough juice there.
So when you say that, Dan, it's amazing to me that here's Dan Kish and Zeb Bell talking on a radio program. Are we that much smarter than these Democrats, and that much smarter than environmentalists, and that much smarter than the Obama administration, that we can see that America's progress, transportation systems, businesses, all are going to come to a screeching halt, and they can't see that because they're that damn dumb? What's the matter with these people?
Well, I don't know, Zeb. I mean, the fact of the matter is there's plenty of people with their hand out, in these businesses who have been getting the federal subsidies for this stuff. There's politicians who are pushing for it because the companies that basically do this are totally dependent on these subsidies they get. If in the absence of that, they wouldn't have these sources at all. And so if you want to depower America, this is a good way to do it.
Tell us a little bit about these drilling permits. When I read about the average days to get a drilling permit through the federal government, as concerned with also the number of days on private and state lands, I was absolutely shocked. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're in Texas or some other states, you can get a drilling permit in 5 to 10 days.
Oh my!
And when it comes to the federal government, we're talking about the period of time that it's now taking on federal lands is somewhere in the 200s.
Oh my!
Days.
So basically 3/4 of a year almost, 240 days versus 5 to 10 days on the opposite. And why? Is it all the red tape and the mushy mush, or what's going on here?
Yeah, it's the mushy mush, basically. It's the, you've got all these groups, the environmental groups, that use this as an excuse to slow things down, and so the agencies that are responsible for giving the permits have to jump through all kinds of hoops that the Greens have, in essence, put in place, and we've just got layer after layer after layer after layer of green tape holding up the situation when it comes to permits. And I ask you, I mean, you understand business, who are you going to want to do business with? And somebody who can give you a permit in 5 days or 10 days, or somebody who's going to take 2/3 of a year. And ultimately, that shows up in those numbers that I was talking about before. 89% increase on the non-federal lands and a 10% decrease over the last 5 years on federal lands.
You know, and Dan, let me ask you this, final thought here. It's in regards to our senators and our congressmen. I'm beginning to think that almost all of them, whether they're from Arizona, Massachusetts, Wisconsin, or Idaho, all of them are just basically playing the CYA game. They're not going back there. They're afraid to make any ripples in the water. They're afraid to do or say anything that might be out of the norm. They stay the course just to get reelected, keep that money coming in, keep the perks coming in, and basically are not representing us, because I'm not seeing anybody stand up and say, this is wrong for the American public, this is wrong for our progress, for our nation, and we've got to change things. Where is, in simple terms, the guts from the legislature?
Well, Zeb, I think you ask a very good question, because ultimately, if they were as upset as a lot of Americans are, they'd be pounding on the table and trying to get things done harder. And I don't see it. You don't see it, which tells me that it probably isn't happening.
Well, I'll say you one thing, and the extent of my offer is going to remain. If you can ever get out here, you and I, regardless of the cost of energy, we're going to go out and have a great big steak, and I want to say how much I appreciate you coming on this program. It's a good thing for the other members of Congress that Dan Kish and Zeb Bell are not members, because I got a feeling we'd make a lot of enemies in a very short time.
I think you're probably right, Zeb.
Okay. Dan Kish, Institute for Energy Research. God bless you, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
God bless you. Thank you kindly.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. There's the man that I really trust with what's going on in energy, and he's as frustrated as I am with these. What's the matter with our leadership? What's the matter with congressmen and senators that they can't stand up and say, no, this isn't right. This isn't what my home constituents want. Or, this is what my home constituents want. This is what I'm going to do battle for. This is what I'm going to stand up and fight for. They don't have any backbone. I'm sick and tired of people in politics, not on a national level, not having any backbone. And we're seeing it. Letting the environmentalists, letting the Tom Steyers, letting the Obamas, letting the Pelosi's run all over us. And really, this, the greatest country ever in the world's history, is suffering and sliding down the hill. Time for a weather forecast, and the weather this hour is brought to you by some really, really good friends of mine, and that's Mad River Laser. Everything they do at Mad River Laser is first class, absolutely first class, whether you want your business logo on sweatshirts and t-shirts and jackets or caps, or whether you want to have some employee recognition plaques made, or whatever the case. And you can also design custom t-shirts using your own artwork, and then basically they can offer online t-shirt designing and upload your own artwork and use their templates. Call them and find out more. It's an exciting venture on how you can get involved with the creating of your own t-shirt logos. Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-2293. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers is up at the ranch. Got a nice day with temperatures in the 70s, but you do have rain in the forecast. And I'm really bad at doing this. I don't know why. Because, I should just stay into today, but I always look down the road. It's just a weather thing in me. I don't know. We got a nice day today, 73 for the high, 45 for the overnight low.
When you get to Wednesday and Thursday, you got a slight chance of rain on Wednesday, rain on Thursday, come out of it on Friday. There you have it. And then this weekend, you're going to have a pretty nice weekend. So other than that, get a nice day for the day. Enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you got.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. Brought to us by Mad River Laser. Oh, my, did they do a good job. Mad River Laser at 502 East Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-2293. Really nice people. By the way, I'll take some more phone calls right now. Give us a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Want to remind you, too, Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. All you have to do is call them at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. Remember, they provide warm winters and cool summers. Thank you very much. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I was talking earlier this morning about the pot smokers that were on Blue Lakes yesterday. Hey, man, support marijuana. Hey, man, weed, that's the way to go. I mean, they were standing there, and it really was eye-opening. I drove by twice just to look at them, and there's about, I don't know at that time, 14 or 15 of them standing there, holding up their signs, pro-pot, pro-weed, this whole 9 yards. And they, like I said, they were all basically probably under the age of 30, and the first thing that hit me was it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday, and they didn't have a job to go to. They didn't have any work that they had to be responsible for, and they're standing on a street in Twin Falls on Blue Lakes, holding up cardboard signs saying, "Oh yeah, pro weed, yeah man, you know." What kind of people are these? And you know, I was also listening about the pot today. They were talking about marijuana, and they were breaking it down on the news as to how much more powerful and stronger it is and how much more detrimental it is to people that use it. There is one called, a variety called skunk, and they say it really gets people loaded and high in a hurry. And another one called butter, B-U-D-D-E-R, that is supposed to be 80% more stronger than other varieties. And here we are, and these people want to have it legalized in the state of Idaho. They want to have everything so that, hey, man, we can lay in the city park. We can lay up on top of a bus. We can climb a tree or whatever. What good are these people that are promoting marijuana as legal? And really, what are the assets to the community? The only thing I would say about assets to the community is take the first 3 letters of that word, and that's what they'll end up being in the community. I don't want to see that kind of attitude pervade itself in any community. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And if there's somebody out there that loves marijuana and it's offended, good. Don't forget Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley, next to Dot Foods. You can call my buddy Tim Vaughn at 431-7314 for estimates on what you need built. Streamline Precision is a family of companies providing construction, excavation, and fabrication services, and believe me, they make a coordinated, accurate, confidential, and consistent timeline to meet their clients' demanding needs. Now, I've mentioned to you that right now they're really involved in putting up a lot of on-the-farm storage, grain bin storage. They're an authorized dealer in Sioux Cup, Chief, Balin, and Nucor buildings. Call them. Here's the number again, 431-7314. Don't forget, Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley. They are the professionals building for you. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning again.
Yes.
I got a solution for your demonstrators.
What's that?
Well, why not a group of about 15 people in their cars go down and buy a bunch of balloons, fill them full of water, and throw it at the darn guys.
You'd probably get arrested for assault, and they have a right to protest. They have a right to carry their signs. I assume that they've asked for the right to be out in front of certain businesses, etc., and show their signs and their wackiness and their weirdness. But you know, Keith, you and I are what's considered to be old fuddies. Maybe we haven't got the new line of thought. Maybe we haven't kind of tuned in to what marijuana is and the benefits. What are your thoughts?
Well, when I was a kid, I'd heard the word marijuana, but I didn't know what it was, but it was called local weed. And it grew on ditch banks here in Idaho.
Uh-huh.
And the horses would get it, and they'd just go nuts. And so that's why they called it local weed. But I guess there's all these people who want to act like a horse behind.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a very good analogy, but you know, some of the people they interviewed on television last night, one was in a tree, the other one was laying up on a bus. I mean, these are really not your stalwarts of your community, are they?
No, they're not. And I was briefly watching it on Hannity last night of these people, and in Colorado, that's their day. It's called 420.
Yeah.
4/20, because it's on the 20th each week or each year.
Maybe I'm just old-fashioned, Keith, but I don't want to see a bunch of people laying around in front of kids in a park, and they're just going, hey, man, the sun just turned purple. I just don't like it. I don't want anything to do with it, and I'm going to do everything I can to fight it. And now finding out that some of their sources and varieties of marijuana are so much stronger, I dare say I don't want them behind a steering wheel of a car either.
No, sir. It's the same as being drunk, I guess. I don't know. I've never touched this stuff. Never going to. But how and where is this thing going? I mean, these people are not going to give up until they legalize.
Yeah, I've got another call. Maybe they've got the answer for us, Keith. Thank you so much. I appreciate your giving us a jingle this morning. Thank you.
You bet.
All right, caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Yes, well, I thought you were just here.
Get marijuana legalized. Look what's happened to Washington, Oregon. They passed in Alaska, and that's dumb because that's the highest suicide rate on account of long nights. I know several people that's moved to Washington to get the pot. So,
why? Are we that dependent as human beings that we have to look for sources that take us away from reality and just basically destroy our lives, not have jobs, not do anything? And like these kids yesterday on the street corner, standing there when they should have been working and been productive members of society, either as students or as business people, standing there just saying, hey, man, let's legalize weed.
Yeah, that's our future generation. Someday they might end up around the world.
Oh, brother. Well, when you come to think about it, though, maybe they could do a little better than Obama and Hillary.
Yeah, everybody'd be happier, I guess.
Okay. George, God bless you, man. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Let me tell you, Bright, thank you for the cake. The loaf of bread, it's good.
Yeah, I know. She gave one to you. She's given one already to Dr. History that just walked in the door. And guess who never even got to have a taste of any of it?
Yeah, well, mine's about half gone already.
Yeah, bye, George.
Bye.
All right, see you later, buddy. Coming up in about 6-7 minutes, we have the world-renowned traveler on our program this morning, and that is Dr. History. He is back. He's safe. He's sound. Well, I don't know if he's of sound mind or not. But anyway, we're going to have him on the program in about 7 minutes, and we're going to be talking all about his trip to China, and it's going to be really, really interesting. So stay tuned for that. Dr. Ken Turner, Dr. History, coming up on our program in just about 7 minutes. Don't forget, Elmo Boy Scouts, great big turkey shoot, going to be this Saturday from 10 to 2 right up at Elba by the cemetery. Don't miss it. Going to be a lot of fun. We're going to send it back over to Wheels at the main station. We'll be back in about 6 minutes. Okay, here we go. Last hour. It's going to be interesting because lo and behold, the lost is found. The found is home. And we're going to be talking to Dr. History in just a few minutes. Stand by. Welcome back with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and a great big spring tire sale going on right now, along with some of our great advertisers, Valleywide Home and Ranch at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch. 4-Hers, don't forget, you get a 10% discount in there for what you need for your projects at Valleywide Home and Ranch. And our thanks to Western Waste Services. Kelly and the crew always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service, 734-6969, Western Waste. Oh, before we introduce our world traveler that marched in with 17 suitcases, and we're going to have him on the air momentarily, I want to remind you what's going on at the Chadwick Sports Grill today at 139 West Main in Burley. Today, listen to this. Chicken pasta with lime, served with garlic roast and soup. I think they meant to put toast, not garlic roast, but garlic toast. And R sometimes makes one misread when it should have been toast. So there again we have the menu. Chicken pasta with lime, served with garlic toast and super salad. This is going to be, I like that. It sounds really good for those of us that are watching our weight a little bit. The Chadwick Sports Grill, always great specials and delicious menu items at 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and have lunch today, okay? And then also, let's see, I got another little note here. Don't forget, Ken, is your wife going to go to the 1x1 Women's Seminar sponsored by the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce on Thursday this week, the 23rd, from 10 till 3 at the Best Western Burley Inn Convention Center in Burley. Tickets are only $20. Come on, Turner, get that $20 bill out of your pocket. Buy her a ticket to go, and she'll enjoy all the festivities, all the great speakers. Everything's going to be great on this Thursday. So call the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce at 679-4793 or stop over at 1177 7th Street in Hayburn and get tickets for the ladies for the 1x1 Women's Seminar coming up this Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome back on the program in the studio the one, the only Dr. History. And this segment is brought to you by our dear friends with Minnecasia Sales at 1321 East Main Street in Burley. And we're going to be talking about them in just a little bit. But right now, good morning, world traveler.
Oh, good morning, Zeb.
How are you?
I'm doing great. It's just nice to see a great sunshiny day and the farms and everything around.
Now, we can be really honest about your feelings prior to leaving for China. Now, the last time you were on this program was the same day, later in the day, that you were going to leave and fly to China, was it not?
Yes, that's correct.
And Ken Turner has always been, he's a dear friend of mine, but I can tell you that the day that he was here on the broadcast and ready to leave that night, you had second thoughts about going, didn't you?
I was a little nervous.
Yeah.
Maybe more than a little nervous.
Well, it's a long flight.
It is.
How many hours over there?
Well, I'll just tell you, last week, or 2 weeks ago, I left, I drove to Boise, and the next morning I got on the airplane at 7:30 in the morning on a Wednesday, 7:30 on Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
Went to San Francisco, and I arrived in Beijing at 3:30 in the afternoon on Thursday. So from Wednesday morning here till 3:30 in the afternoon on Thursday.
Okay, so
because of the time zone.
You picked up an entire day.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was no darkness. It was light all the way.
Yeah, you were going into the sun.
Or the sun was chasing us or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
But so it was a long day.
And then coming home, it would be the opposite.
Right. In fact, coming home, I left Beijing at 12 noon on Tuesday.
Right.
Got to Boise at 2:30 Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
2.5 hours.
You picked up a whole day.
And went through a night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind, you've got me confused.
Okay.
So in other words, you were the only guy on the plane with your own portable pillow.
It was about 15 hours.
Oh, my goodness sakes.
15 hours of flying. So.
And there are really some nice people over there. And I think let's get to this right off the bat.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about Peking University and the students that you spoke in front of.
I've got to say, Zeb, they are the most impressive, kind, respectful, sharp students that I've ever met.
Now, when you say respectful, I want to stop right there, and I want to talk about this. I have heard from many, many sources, various friends that have gone over there other than you, and they said the Chinese younger people, and quite frankly, the Chinese people in general, were extremely polite.
They were. Like I say, I was so impressed with these students. The day I spoke on Wednesday night, but on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I went to their classes.
I see.
And had individual question and answer periods. And I got to know some of these students on a first-name basis. And by the time I got around to speaking at the lecture on Wednesday evening, I felt a lot more comfortable with them. Again, they were just so respectful, so kind, and inquiring.
How big a university numbers-wise, as far as students, is Peking University?
Well, I tried to get an answer, and I heard everything from 5,000 to 45,000. So I never did really get a total answer. But on the way over, I sat by a Chinese businessman from Boise to San Francisco.
Really?
And he was flying to Shanghai, and when I told him what I was doing at Peking University, the first thing out of his mouth was, Peking University is the #1 university in China.
In China.
Yeah.
Now, I guess my obvious question at this point would be, how many universities, or do they have a university system of other colleges and universities that operate as satellite schools from the main one?
Okay, I don't know that they have satellites, but in Beijing itself, I was told there were about 50 universities and colleges just in Beijing.
Oh, in Beijing.
Just in Beijing. So you get outside to some of the other cities like Shanghai and some of the others. So education is a huge, huge thing with the Chinese people.
You know, I must ask this because we see the turmoil, unrest, and the different movements on our college campuses here in the United States, and we see the, in some regards, sloppy attire and the sloppiness to our students. What are they like over there?
Those students dress nice. I didn't see any piercings, any tattoos, any mohawk hair. Those students dress very nice. I didn't see any student that I would be ashamed of.
Really?
Just excellent students. And to get into the university, and we'll get into this a little bit, but it's quite a process.
Really? Qualification?
Yes.
I see.
But when I spoke at the university on the lecture, and I've presented Zeb with a gift from the students of Peking University.
Now, I'm going to ask you, it's a card holder, and on the outside, folks, I'll tell you what, for those that might be listening or watching at home on our webcast, is this teak wood, or is this cherry wood, or what is that?
I really don't know. They presented it to me to give to you, and I really don't know what type of wood. It's kind of a reddish brown, very pretty.
It's got very, very pretty card holder, and it's done in a very rich, highly glossed, kind of a red wood, and very, very nice. And for those that are listening over in China right now, I'd like to extend my thank yous. This means a lot, and it will be right here on my broadcast desk from this point on. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let me read this that the students read to me as they presented this to you.
Okay.
Dear Mr. Zeb Bell, please accept this small gift from us students of American English at Peking University. Your happy cowboy voice and funny interruptions have sometimes thrown us off and at other times pulled us in. We love your big voice and fun, teasing personality. When you are introducing Dr. History, please see in your mind the many students who listen to each story many times and who try to see you in our minds. Thank you, the English students, Peking University, Beijing, China.
It's a good thing you didn't take a picture of me.
You know what?
You did.
I did.
Which picture did you take?
You know when we had our Christmas show?
Yeah.
I stood over there next to you and had a picture taken of you and I.
Yeah.
And when I did my PowerPoint presentation, I showed them what you and I look like, what you look like.
My.
So now they don't have to imagine.
Now, when you were giving your talk over there, basically what were you talking on? What subject?
Here's what I did. I gave a little autobiography of myself. Actually, my friend Jack, Professor Rose, he introduced me.
He teaches there.
Right. He and his wife, Rhonda, teach at the university.
I see.
And that's how I got involved in going there.
I see.
He introduced me with an autobiography, and then I told about, 7 or 8 stories about mountain men, pioneers, stage holdups, things like that.
Yeah.
So, but in the end, I thought, I don't want to just entertain these kids with stories. I'd like to say something that will hopefully affect their lives.
Right.
So in the end, I asked them, I told them that a lot of the stories I give are from journals and diaries, and those are the most reliable sources that I use when I tell stories.
Right.
So I said, how many of you have a journal? And I said, I would like to commit you to start, if you haven't already, a journal of your own, and keep this journal. Because somewhere down the road you'll have a child or a grandchild that can read that journal and say, oh, my grandfather had a rough time at Peking University, but he made it through it, and so can I.
I like that. We have a caller with a question. Let's get that on real quick.
Okay.
An hour is going to be too short this morning. I can see that already. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Oh, yeah, I got a question for Dr. History there. Did he get my CD delivered? That's all I need to know.
No, I did not, and I can talk to you about that later.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Let me just finish that, Zeb. So the second thing I committed them to do, because I wanted something permanent in their lives, I said, would you please go home, when you go home in the summertime, go to your father and your grandfather or grandmother and record their history. Get a tape recorder or a recorder of some kind, because when they're dead, their story's gone.
Absolutely.
So, and better yet, if you can talk to your grandfather and ask him what he remembers about his grandfather, you're going to have a family history that will be precious in years to come.
Absolutely.
So.
And did they like the idea?
They did. And I don't know how many will actually do it.
The students that were there listening to you, I mean, it's hard for me to fathom distances over in China because I've never been there. But I mean, did you have students that would be like the equivalency distance away, like from San Francisco to New York? I mean, a lot of them that haven't been home for quite some time because of the distance factor?
Yes. In fact, on Sunday evening, we had dinner with 3 students. 2 really sweet ladies and a young man named Randy. He was from Malaysia. Zaya was from Mongolia, and Iman was from southern China.
Which would be how far? Roughly.
I'm going to say 800 to 1,000, 1,200 miles.
And probably they had not been home for quite some time.
Right. They just can't jump in the car and run home.
Another quick question, and I'm asking things off the cuff this morning. Do these students also have outside jobs to help replenish their monetary needs while they're in school?
As far as I know, they do not.
I see. Are they there on scholarships?
Yes.
Oh.
Now, let me talk about that just a little bit. The education is such an important thing in China. They start when they're 5 or 6 years old.
Right.
And the goal is for the parents and the grandparents to do everything they can, all their assets, to educating this child one, maybe two children.
Really?
And so the goal is to get this child into a university, and especially Peking University.
I see.
So I saw children on the back of scooters and bicycles, 6, 7, 8 years old, with their backpack open, looking at notes as they were being ridden or driven to
studying
school.
All the time.
Studying.
All the time.
So when they turn about 17 or 18 years old, they take a 2-day test.
Yeah.
They have one chance. And if they pass this, then they will be admitted to a university. If they don't pass it, that's it.
They don't get another chance.
They do not get another chance.
So in other words, an entrance exam here in the United States might not allow you to go to Yale or Harvard, but you could go somewhere else.
Sure, yeah.
I see.
And so there's other opportunities, but the universities, you have one chance.
What is the curriculum like? I mean, I went through 2 universities, and I can kind of relate University of Wisconsin, University of Minnesota, and then Brown Institute, but what about their curriculum?
Okay, these students are studying anywhere from 10 to 14 hours a day.
A day?
A day. Plus going to their classes.
What about the burnout factor?
You know, you can only imagine, because these students are going from early till late every day except Sunday.
My.
And for them actually to take an hour and a half out of the time to come to my lecture was actually really a sacrifice.
You mentioned except Sunday. Is that a day that is associated with a religious day, off day from school, like it used to be here in this country also?
Not necessarily.
I see.
Because for example, if they have a holiday, and like say a Monday is a holiday, they're expected to make up those classes on Sunday.
I see.
And while I was there, the Monday after I got there was a holiday, and that's when I went to the Great Wall of China, which we'll talk about in a few minutes.
Yeah, I've got to get a commercial break in here. I hate to break in and interrupt you because you're so fascinating on this subject. Don't forget, on Thursdays, we have another segment that's very, very important, and it's called Cassia County School Days, and we're very blessed to have 2 wonderful sponsors for that program. A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, and of course, they've got hundreds and hundreds of spring play clothes and dresses, and celebrate a brand new baby with a 5-piece baby outfit. Oh, look at Dr. Turner grin. And then don't forget, too, they've got all the clothing for the little boys, and they got the games and the puzzles, everything for the family right there at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, along with the other sponsor of Cassia County School Days, Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland. Over 100 procedures are performed every month, saving a lot of residents of Magic Valley a lot of money. You better believe it. Eye surgery, knee surgeries, colonoscopies. All you have to do is call and find out more. 677-8888. 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland in Burley. Dr. History, what about I want to go back just a second to something I thought of while doing that last commercial. Their textbooks, I mean, are they all written in Chinese, or do they have kind of a English and Chinese translation?
You know, I've got to admit, I did not see any textbooks. Now, Rhonda, Professor Rose's wife, is teaching and having her students read some stories that are all English. So they have to read English literature, English books.
So they're listening to this program, Dr. History, and they're taking notes, I would assume, on some of the historical content and everything we do on this program. And are they being graded on this with their notes and their thoughts about this program, or what?
Yes, they are. They discuss this, and I don't know that they're actually graded on what they hear on the radio or on our show, but they are tested on their
All of a
grammar.
sudden, I'm breaking out in a cold sweat. You know that.
And in fact, Professor Rose, Jack Rose, in his class, they get deducted, I think, like 5 points if they use any Chinese during their hour-long class or 2-hour class. So they have to strictly speak English. And he has projects for these students that are amazing that these students put together, like tours of the campus. And let me just say this about the campus. There were some very, very modern buildings, really nice, a state-of-the-art library, but there's some very old buildings on this campus as well. But the building I spoke in was a science building that had a very nice auditorium with a big screen in the front, a cordless microphone.
Did the architecture of their buildings coincide with a lot of what we have here on our campuses in the United States?
Somewhat. Some really modern, but others are made and built with the Chinese type roof, the slanting type roofs on some of the newer buildings. But there's older buildings that are still being used, that they've been for many years.
What about some of their questions? When you were introduced in front of the class as Dr. Ken Turner, Dr. History, and on the Zeb Bell program, etc., did they have a common thread with some of the questions?
Rhonda Rose is teaching about the Lewis and Clark expedition right now. And so a lot of the questions centered around the Indians, the Indian life then and Indian life now.
Really?
So I was quite fascinated that they really wanted to know about the Indians and the feelings back then, 150 years ago, and what's going on with the Indians now.
I guess an obvious question would be, why would they, in their culture and their education, be so interested in Lewis and Clark?
And I don't know so much about Lewis and Clark because...
Or our history in general.
Yeah. I think because it is so different.
Yeah.
And the Indians were... a lot of times misunderstood, and so Hollywood movies portray the Indians as the bad guys all the time.
Yeah.
And so I tried to straighten that out and explain to them that the Indians were many times very helpful.
Now, I have talked and visited with a lot of Japanese people, and their infatuation with the American West is second to none. I mean, like at the National Finals Rodeo every year in Las Vegas, and prior to that when it was in Oklahoma City, you would find a huge delegation of Japanese people there wearing the great big resist-all cowboy hats and the boots and everything. Do the Chinese also have an infatuation with the American West and its history?
They do seem to. In fact, it was interesting as we toured around different places that I did see a few Chinese men with a cowboy hat.
Really?
But they weren't quite like our resist-all, a little different, but it was interesting to see some of them wearing a cowboy hat.
When you were standing up there talking about the program, what was your main gist of the speech that you wanted them to know? What were you telling them?
Well, just mainly, I just told them about 7 or 8 stories about the mountain men, about...
Not the naked one.
No, not that one.
Good.
Well, actually, I did tell them about John Coulter and his run. And about the bear attacks with Hugh Glass and stagecoach robbery that took place up here by Oakley. And so just a few entertaining stories.
I bet you that their eyes widened when you said that stagecoach robbery took place basically in your backyard.
Right.
Yeah.
And I showed them some pictures of the Oregon Trail and talked about the Oregon Trail, the pioneers, the wagons.
That, I would imagine, would be a topic that would really keep their attention. The Oregon Trail, probably the most famous venture for 50, 60 years, any time in the United States history.
Right. I showed them a picture of what it looked like along the Snake River in the summertime and in the wintertime to show them what the mountain men would have seen as they came through this area.
Really?
So, like I say, the lecture went very well, and because the students were promised an extra 5-point credit if they got my autograph, I was mobbed after the lecture. I felt like a superstar.
A rock star.
A rock star.
Kind of a gray-haired Ringo.
Yes. But again, these students were so respectful and courteous and kind. And in fact, Zaya, one of the students that we had dinner with, she gave me, I should have brought that, I forgot to, a little yurt. Do you know what a yurt is?
Isn't a yurt one of those buildings in the wintertime when you're up skiing?
Okay, a yurt is this round tent-like structure.
Yeah.
And she was from Mongolia, and she presented me with this really neat little yurt.
Really?
Another student had been hiking in the Gobi Desert and brought me a little thing with Gobi Desert sand in it.
What a nice gift.
Yeah.
We've got to take a break and send it back to our main studios, but I want to talk to you about our favorite subject. It used to be until I put on a little weight, food. We're going to talk about that and the Great Wall of China. And I've got to ask you about this irrigation on this book. It's folks, this is the most amazing irrigation process I've ever seen in my life, anywhere, anytime. We're going to have more with Dr. History right after we take this break. Wheels, over to you.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. Don't forget on Thursdays also at 10:32, Vicky's Country Garden presents the program named after me, Gardening for Idiots. And I'll tell you what, you better get your questions in here on your gardens with all this warm, sunny skies and everything. I'll tell you what, things are growing. And if you have questions, send them to zebattheranch@hotmail.com. zebattheranch@hotmail.com. Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul, 438-5663. And Gardening for Idiots on Thursdays at 10:32. We are on the air with, of course, our sponsored program of Dr. History. And I am going to right now do a little deal for our sponsor. Normally, this program is only a 30-minute program. Well, today it's an hour program, and so therefore, Dr. History is brought to you by Minnecasia Sales at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. For all your spring remodeling, don't forget they got all the different lumber packages for you to choose from. They've got all your shingles for the upgrade on your roof. They can upgrade your windows. I'm telling you, they've got the best in carpet. All you have to do is stop in and talk to Zach and the rest of the folks at Minnecasia Sales. And don't forget, they have the best of farm and ranch equipment from Tartar Farm and Ranch Equipment waiting for you. These people are really good folks. Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport, and they bring you the world traveler, Dr. History. Doc, I got to get into this right now. The Great Wall of China. You brought a book back that shows various pictures of the surrounding area, and the Great Wall of China lit up at night. And I had no idea that the Great Wall of China was of this magnitude.
Well, before I went, I had thought there was the one Great Wall. Actually, there were many walls that were built starting clear back in the 5th and 6th centuries.
Right, yeah.
And they've been torn down, rebuilt, but about in the 1400s is when the Great Wall was really built, and it goes, really, the total length of all these walls is about 13,000 miles.
Really?
But the Great Wall is around close to 2,000. Now, we drove for 2 hours out of Beijing north to a place called Jinshanling. When we got there, it was 33 degrees. It was cold.
Ooh.
And so we started climbing. They have steps that take you up to the wall, up to where you can start walking on the wall. It took about 45 minutes to an hour just to walk and climb. And I tell you, even though it was cold, I was sweating by the time I got to the top.
Now, the Great Wall, how much refurbishment or maintenance does it take to keep it up?
Well, there's a lot of places where it is not. It's been overgrown with trees and brush and shrubs and one thing and another, and
really
is not kept up. But so I don't know how many miles they actually keep built up, but when I finally got to the top and was able to look around for miles and miles to my left and to my right, you could see these on the ridges of the mountains.
Well, I'm looking at a picture right now that goes along with what you're saying. The clouds actually are below the photographer in this one picture, right, and you can see the various points of the wall on other hillsides.
Right. Now, the place we went to is not a place where you go if you can't do much walking, because we had to hike clear to the top.
Oh, my.
The other thing that quite surprised me is that from tower to tower, we might go down a very, very steep set of steps, get to the bottom, and have some very, very steep steps going up to the next tower. So we went through about 5 towers, and again, I was absolutely exhausted by the time we got through with that wall.
Let me ask you this real quick. Were you impressed with the workmanship?
You know, Zeb, every time I looked at that wall, I thought somebody had to haul this rock, this brick, this mortar from down in that valley up to this ridge. Really? And build this.
It's built right at, I mean, it's a sheer drop-off on
both sides. Yes. Yeah. And steep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as engineering, it's amazing. It's a total amazing. Now, at one time, they had soldiers actually building this, and then they had sometimes prisoners and one thing and another, but they actually finally moved some of their families close by so they could live at the bottom and work on the...
Do you have an estimate, or is it in this book at all, as to how many people actually built the Great Wall of China?
You know, I really don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just huge.
Now, I'm going to ask you to do this real quick, and then I've got to do some commercials so that we don't fall behind. Ladies and gentlemen, the irrigation system over there on a mountaintop, and it's not just one mountaintop, it's numerous mountaintops with the water. I mean, Ken, explain this to the audience at home. This is absolutely fascinating.
Okay, after the lecture, Jack and I took a bullet train south for about 800 to 1,000 miles. And there we saw the Terracotta Warriors, which we'll talk about that in a minute. But this place was called the Dragon Back because the mountains look like a dragon's back. And if you look at that, you'll see that in those pictures. But when we had a cab that took us to the bottom of this little parking lot, we had to hike up to our hotel because they didn't have any roads. And it took about a half an hour to 40 minutes.
You had to do that every day?
Well, no, just this one day. We only stayed one night in this hotel.
I wouldn't have stayed there at all. I want ground reservations.
But the hotel was very nice. It overlooked the village, this little village.
Wow.
And then we hiked around, and that's where these terraced farming operations take place.
That's what it's called, is terrace farming?
Right, and it's all hand labor. You can't get a tractor or anything up those mountains.
Yeah.
Now, the thing you asked me about was the irrigation. What they did is they would find a stream coming down through a little valley or whatever, and they would take bamboo, and they would just hook bamboo, maybe a 20-foot piece to another 20-foot piece to another 30-foot piece, and they could irrigate that whole area. As you look at that picture, and then they would cut notches in a terrace to let the water flow from that terrace down to the next terrace, and then another notch to let that go down to the next terrace, but then they may skip one or two and then go to another one.
Well, how thick or how much of an opening, like a pipe, is the bamboo?
It's only, I'm going to say, 3 inches.
3 inches?
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, I know you can't see this at home, but I've got a picture in front of me. At the top of the mountain, there's a gentleman standing in probably about 24 inches of water with an ox. And what's he doing?
Plowing. They use those and hand labor
in the water
to plow the ground to plant the rice.
So, and then the water keeps going down these various tiers. Now, on this mountainside, there's there's probably at least 20 different tiers.
Right. Now, when I was there, we only saw water in a few of those. Most of them were somewhat dry because they're preparing the ground. Yeah. So I saw a number of people out there with these hoes that were plowing the ground with hose. The hand labor over there, Zeb, is amazing. I only saw 2 tractors the whole time when we took the bullet train for about 800 miles. I saw 2 tractors that you could sort of call tractors. That was it.
Sort of?
Sort of.
Really?
Not really what we would call a tractor.
So basically, they're still doing the work with oxen and hand labor, comparable to what it was like 1,000 years ago.
Yes. This village that we stayed in, everything has to be hauled up by either on your back or by horses. They had some small horses.
When you say everything, like what?
Like the food, the water, or not the water, the food, the building supplies, rock, everything had to be hauled up there because there was not a road going into this little village.
Really? Now, you touched on something we need to discuss, and I know we're running short on time. Food.
Okay, the food... I tried, and I enjoyed some of it. I did my best, and I enjoyed some of it, but it's definitely the Chinese food is definitely different than American Chinese
what
food.
you're trying to tell us without telling us is that you ran to the nearest McDonald's.
Burger King, McDonald's, Sizzler.
Oh my!
But I decided.
What made it so distinct in taste?
I'm not sure what it is they use when they're cooking. I had some grilled chicken that was very good. The cabbage and the rice and the rice was good. There's just some things there was just a distinct taste to it. I'm not quite sure what it is they cook with there.
Now, transportation is another subject that we wanted to talk about, and a guy like me that needs to jump in a vehicle and go someplace, it looks like I'm not going to go very far, right?
Okay, when I got there, Professor Rose, Jack, showed me my means of transportation.
Yeah.
It was a bicycle.
A bike?
Oh, yeah. And thousands, millions of bikes in all the cities. And
did you have to be careful and lock them up and everything?
Oh yeah, because they can be stolen. So you do lock them up every time you go anywhere. But on campus, thousands and thousands of bikes on the campus and in the city.
Really?
But we rode all over Beijing, and that's an interesting experience too. Because when you come to a large intersection, you've got vehicles going left and right and back and forth, and Jack told me, now just keep your eyes straight ahead, because if you look left or right, that guy is going to maybe get ahead of you, so you just have to be kind of careful.
Who has the right of way?
Whoever's biggest.
I see.
So a big truck has the right of way. A smaller bus has less right of way. A car, and then.
So you're telling me that there's not necessarily lanes and turn lanes and all this?
No, there are, but you still kind of move in where you can. But let me just tell you something about the cars. They do not allow any cars older than 5 years old in Beijing.
Whoa. How come?
I really don't know.
What happens? You got to get rid of it?
I guess there's some way that you trade them off or whatever, but BMWs, Audis, Mercedes, Cadillacs.
They're making money?
Buicks, Hondas. I mean, beautiful car. I only saw one car that had a dent in it. One. In the whole time I was there.
You're kidding me.
So, and the other thing that I want to point out is the people dress extremely well.
In American garb, or what? They're traditional, or what?
No, just very American type, very well dressed, high heels for the women, slacks and sweaters, and just the people dress very, very nice.
In all instances.
Well, now when you see the laborers, the people that are doing the manual labor, of course they are dressed more like in work clothes.
Okay.
But again, the hand labor over there is amazing. They do have backhoes and track hoes, but a lot of it is still done by manual labor.
It sounds to me like you're intimating and not really saying that it's an extremely clean culture.
Yes, but I also we cycled over to a marketplace.
Oh boy!
Now I've got to describe this to you. This marketplace was probably a mile long with maybe 3 rows of buildings. Every single building was full of either a meat market, fish market, vegetables, clothes, electronics, bikes, anything that you could possibly want.
And this is outside?
Yes. Well, yeah, the vegetable market was outside, but the buildings were long, covered buildings.
Okay.
But again, everything, material, clothing. Now the fish market was interesting. Live fish, live turtles, and again the meat market, ducks and chickens, anything that you could possibly want.
Really.
Now another thing that I found interesting was in some areas when you go shopping, you barter. So they start at 500, you start at 100, then they come down, you go up a little, and I bought some nice things, but you barter. Now some places it's not. It's the price is what it is, and that's it.
I see.
And other places you go back and forth, and they expect that.
Really?
So when they say this is 500, and I say I'll give you 100, they know you're going to come somewhere down.
Really?
Into the middle, yeah.
Oh, my. I got a break here, and then boy, we're running late. We're going to have to do this again next week. Don't forget Steve-O's, 290 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Oh, my goodness, they're celebrating their 20-year anniversary. Dr. History, get your checkbook out. You can take Deanne and I out to eat. Love to go. And don't forget Steve-O's always thanking the community for all the support for over the last 20 years. They've got the friendliest servers and a very dedicated staff, and they say, come on in and help us celebrate 20 years with your favorite lunch or dinner. Food made just the way you like it at Steve-O's, 290 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Hey, by the way, let's also tell you about what's going on over at our friends at Scarro's Meats. They sell taste one bite at a time, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. They've got that tax return meat package for just $300. That's right, just $300. Beef, pork, chicken, cheese. Delicious. Give them a call. Find out more about it today, 324-7657 at Scarro's Meats. And right now, here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers is up at the ranch. Got a nice day with temperatures in the 70s, but you do have rain in the forecast. And I'm really bad at doing this. I don't know why. Because, I should just stay into today, but I always look down the road. It's just a weather thing in me. I don't know. We got a nice day today, 73 for the high, 45 for the overnight low. When you get to Wednesday and Thursday, you got a slight chance of rain on Wednesday, rain on Thursday, come out of it on Friday. There you have it. And then this weekend, you're going to have a pretty nice weekend. So other than that, got a nice day for today. Enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you got.
Thank you very much, Michael Rogers Weather, and brought to you by Don Scarrow and Scarrow's Meats. Selling taste one bite at a time, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Oh, by the way, too, don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric along with Lennox with their rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric, 678-0459. They can save you money. Warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. We've only got a short time left, and I want to ask you, you gave me the title of something that I have absolutely no idea what it is. Terracotta Warriors?
Okay, we took a bullet train down to a place called Xi'an. Probably about 2,000 years ago, there was the first emperor of China. Back then, they had the theory that you take with you what you need to go to the next life. So he had these warriors made out of clay, terracotta warriors. These were discovered in 1974, and so far they've uncovered about 8,000 of these full-sized warriors, horses, chariots, all made out of this clay. Now, it took 11 men 1 month to make one soldier.
Oh, my.
And every single one of them are different. No two are exactly like. The taller ones are in the front. They're the officers, I guess, if you want to call that. And towards the back, they get shorter as the enlisted men. Mm-hmm. But they're painted and covered with lacquer in order to preserve the color. Now, over there, they have a lacquer tree. Okay, you can take 2 tablespoons of lacquer from a tree. If you take any more, it might kill the tree. And it takes 25 trees to cover one soldier.
Oh, my.
They would then take these terracotta warriors and they put them in a cave where they made them, and they would seal up the cave and bake the warriors so that, to harden the.
When you say bake, is it kind of like a smoking process?
No, it's more like we would do today with a kiln.
I see.
Of some type
For pottery.
Right, for pottery.
Yeah.
And so it was just interesting to see these rows and rows and rows of these warriors, every one of them different.
Oh, my goodness.
An amazing thing.
I'm getting an attitude from you that China today goes way back, literally thousands of years, depicted today in agriculture and farming, but also the other end of the spectrum where they're probably the most sophisticated and modern.
I went into some malls in there that were, you looked like you could have stepped into New York City or Los Angeles or any big city.
What about money? I mean, what are they involved in to make their wages?
Well, again, I saw many shops, street vendors selling food. These people work hard. I mean, they're up early in the morning till late at night every day. And then, of course, you have the upper echelon of people that are businessmen, that dressed in suits, that are going into these very nice high-rise buildings.
Do they have kind of a sort of a capitalistic system to where they have different, like the higher class, middle class, lower class, because of the jobs and the status?
Yes, and that's why education is so important for these people. That is the critical, most important thing. The opportunity is out there. If you want to set up a little stand and sell breakfast food or any kind of thing that you want to sell on the streets,
are they licensed and basically governed by the government as far as regulations are concerned?
Not necessarily.
Oh, look out.
Some will be on these three-wheel scooters, and they'll be selling their goods, but they kind of keep a watch, and sometimes they will move.
So are you telling me not to buy a burrito from a scooter?
No. Actually, the first day there, we went to one of these mobile stands and had a breakfast wrap that was very, very good.
Really?
It had lettuce and...
you do know what was in it, don't you?
Well, not for sure,
I see.
But I ate it, and it was quite good.
You're home.
I'm home. But all in all, it was a great trip. I learned of some good things. When we were taking that bullet train, it was amazing to see the farmland, miles and miles, acres and acres of beautifully kept farm.
You were mentioning, and I've only got a minute here before the last commercial, but you were mentioning about the labor force. And do the labor force, the manual labor force out in the farms and working for the highways and everything, do they get treated fairly for the work that they put in?
You know, I really don't know what kind of a salary they would make, but part of the government's situation, I think, is to keep everybody employed. And so that's why I think they use a lot of hand labor, manual labor.
Which brings a good point. Do they have a problem with a welfare system or those that won't work over in that country like we do here?
You know, I don't know that. I never did really discuss that with anybody, so I don't know what kind of a welfare plan they have.
I see.
Well, one thing that they do is when the parents are working, a lot of times the grandparents are taking care of the children.
And you bring up another interesting point, like the Japanese really take care of their elderly. Is that the same in China?
Yes. They are very dedicated to their grandparents, their parents, and they're just expected to take care of them as they get older.
And a lot of respect.
Oh, very much, yes.
I've got to do a quick commercial. Man, you are fascinating. I've never said that to you before, but you are. You're really doing a good job. Hey, don't forget the big spring tire sale at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And service is the key word with the best tire value promise in the industry. They've got a lot of their tires on sale right now. You can't afford to pass it up for your cars, pickups, and SUVs. Of course, the best in brake service. I mean, these people really care. You know, I am so impressed with all 7 locations. I'm so impressed with the help. I'm so impressed with the way they treat their customers. They are the professionals, believe me. And very convenient credit can be arranged for tires and services with all 7 locations. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Ken, I think what we better do is try to do this again next week because you've got so much more to tell. And overall, what was the weather like at this time of the year over in China?
You know, the one morning we went out to the Great Wall, it was 33 degrees. And so it was cold, but it warmed up.
Kind of comparable to here, like right now?
Right. Okay. And I was pretty lucky in the fact that I really didn't have a problem with smog in Beijing, which does get some pretty heavy smog. But while I was there, I only had one day that was quite smoggy.
And I guess this is a question we could ask next week, but I'll ask you to give me a short answer on it right now. Were you comfortable over there?
Yes, I never did feel, there was one situation with a cab driver that I was somewhat uncomfortable with, but for the most part, cycling around the city, or any of the other traveling, I was fine.
Okay. Did you, I'm sure, write down a lot of names and addresses to keep in touch with?
I do have some email addresses.
I'll bet you do. I'll bet you do.
Yeah.
You have done a wonderful job, and I thoroughly have enjoyed having you on the program this morning. Dr. History brought to us by our friends at Minnecasia Sales. They are wonderful, wonderful people serving you at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Zach and the rest of the crew at Minnecasia Sales. And if they're listening over in China at Peking University, Isabel, thank you very, very much for the card holder. I'll treasure that for the rest of my life. And Dr. History, we'll see you next Tuesday right here on the program, and let's continue this a little further.
Okay.
All right. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's it for today. We're going to wrap it up and put it back in the box and open it up tomorrow morning and ride for 3 hours, 8:06 to 11. Zeb at the Ranch. God bless. The way things were are the way things ought to be. See you then.